Folks, we're going to get started. My name is Stephanie Phillips. I'm the chairperson for zoning. Welcome. Thank you for coming out tonight. And I know it's kind of a mess out there, so we'll do our best to be efficient so that we can hear all the applications. We originally had 7 applications. I think we're down to 5 applications. So we'll proceed with those today. Who do we have for council here? Not today, right? John Floyd? Okay. I'm going to begin with my usual administrative comments, and as always, I ask if people could just be respectful so that we can hear the applicants and people who are speaking. You know, turn off your cell phones and things like that, or turn them down. The chairperson, the Zoning Commission is now open for public hearing for those petitions advertised to be heard in this session. For the record, the petitions to be heard this evening were advertised in the Connecticut Post on January 18th, 2017, and January 25th, 2017. Those properties were duly posted on January 24th, 2017. So thank you very much. Okay. One last administrative note, in case people didn't know this already. We had 2 applications who have requested that their applications be postponed to February 28th. So if you were here for the 382 Ferry Boulevard or for the 55 Washington Parkway applications, either one of them, each of them have requested to be postponed to the February 28th. We will not be hearing any additional testimony from either the applicant or from the public until those dates. So if you're here for those, you don't have to wait around. Okay, the very first application then to look at, Mr. Paul, is number 2, and I got to make a note to that one because I know that's one too. The applicants, are they here for the 29 Thompson Street? That's me. Okay. Can I bring forward? As it turns out, and just for the public record, I didn't realize that I had that the property owner, not you, but the person who owns the property that you are leasing from happens to be a client of mine, which then perceptively is a conflict of interest. I didn't realize that until earlier today. Right. When I looked at the application, I saw your name. I didn't see them, and it wasn't until much later on that I even saw a connection. As a result, that's why I alerted my client to tell them that I couldn't sit on it. I was hoping they alerted you as well. As a result, I need to recuse myself, which leaves 4 members to vote on your application. It needs 4 votes of which to pass. It is your choice to proceed, and with the 4 members that are here, we do not have an alternate to substitute for myself. You can do that, or you can choose to have a continuance until the next meeting. Mr. Fuller.
There's also a middle compromise that could happen as well. He could enter testimony tonight, make his public hearing presentation, but we could table the petition until an alternate is seated for the 5th vote, until they get caught up with the documentation and review, even an audio or visual file of the meeting. The commission has also allowed that too, so this way they could continue with their public hearing, but we won't make a decision until a 5th voting member is seated.
And keep the public hearing on or close it as well? Would you
up to the commission's discretion.
I'm okay with that. It's up to the applicant. What would you prefer?
So I can have the matter heard, and then at a later date, when there's an alternate available, then it'll be voted on at that point?
At that point, the applicant, the 5th person, the 5th alternate, would look at the video, hear the tapes, look at the materials that you've presented, and from that, review it, and then join the other 4 members to make a decision, which will happen probably at the 28th. That is one option that Mr. Fuller has presented.
May I address the commission? My name is Barry Knott. I just met this gentleman. I've been trying to help him through this issue. There's a fourth alternative, which would be he puts on his public hearing presentation tonight. If he's got 4 yes votes, you vote yes. If somebody feels inclined to vote no, so it looks like it's going down, then you table it until a fifth commissioner could look at it. That way, if he's got 4 yes votes here tonight, it can get approved tonight. If there's a problem, it can be continued until next month. That's the best of all worlds.
Not, the other side of it is if there is not 4 votes, it takes 4 votes to pass. If there are not 4 votes, you will be risking whether or not the fifth person will agree. So that is up to the applicant.
What I'm saying is that after he makes his presentation, if, when you're discussing it, it looks like there are 4 commissioners that are in favor of it, you could vote on it tonight. If it looks like there's a problem with the petition where somebody's uncomfortable with it, then that person would let the rest of you know, I got a problem with this petition, let's continue it, table it until next month so that the fifth commissioner could listen to the tape.
We could do that, but it would not be advisable.
All right. Well, that's my thoughts.
Why would you advise against that route? Because if I understand what this gentleman's saying, we can discuss the matter tonight, everything can be heard, but I still risk the chance either way of not having the fifth.
Any member can call for a vote, and what Mr. Knott was suggesting is that we have a straw vote, which really isn't part of the authority that we have. You would be trying to sense whether or not, but if we vote, we vote.
Sure, okay, and that vote stands and that's that. So if
Correct.
I was denied under those circumstances, I'd have to go through the process entirely again. I'd like to postpone until as soon as possible, the date when there's an alternate available.
That would... Could we have your name?
Oh, certainly. Gerard Arpey.
Pardon me?
Gerard Arpey.
How do you spell your last
Gerard. And last name's A-R, P as in Peter, I-E.
So you will be asking for a continuance. We would table it tonight and ask for a continuance until next month.
Yeah, I think that's best.
Okay. Mr.
Madam-
Fuller?
Oh, I thought you were calling Ms. Yes, Madam Chair, just so there's a vote codified into record, I'm going to move the vote to continue this hearing to a later date per the discretion of commission and petitioner.
May I have a second?
I second.
Second by Ms. Peppin. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And at that time, we'll have an alternate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time, everybody. Thank you.
Okay. Now, Mr.
Is that later date?
The 28th, yeah, it'll be the 28th. Right. Mr. Paul, could you take us up with number 3?
3500 Main Street. 3500 Main Street LLC, special case approval for a takeout donut coffee shop with outdoor seating in a CA district.
Thank you very much. You wanted, Mr. Rosati, would you like to give us your name and...
Sure. Good evening, Madam Chairman, Madam Secretary, Mr. Urbanski, members of the board. My name is Robert Rosati. I'm an attorney here in Stratford with my father, Thomas Rosati. Our office is at 3241 Main Street. I'm also a resident of Stratford. Before I forget, let me submit the mailings.
Thank you. And you're with?
I am with Mr. Jason Wojnowski, the owner of Donut Crazy.
Thank you.
I am here tonight representing 3500 Main Street LLC. That's the property owner, Mr. Thomas Reynolds. He's the member of that LLC. Again, the record owner of 3500 Main Street in Paradise Green. The property is in a CA district. It's the old Gulf Station on the corner of Main Street and Brewster Street. I think we're all familiar with it, next to the old Hamilton's Pharmacy. Mr. Reynolds owns this property. He also owns 24 Brewster Street, which is directly behind the property. That's shown on the plan submitted and on one of these sheets if you need to look at it to get a better understanding of where this property lays. He also owns the adjacent property at 3520 Main Street, which again is the old Hamilton's Pharmacy, and he owns a majority of the properties on that side of Main Street in Paradise Green. Mr. Reynolds is one of the main contributors to developing Paradise Green over the years. He is a major taxpayer. He has invested a great deal of money into Paradise Green and the town of Stratford. He now wants to continue that commitment by partnering with Mr. Wojnowski with Donut Crazy. Mr. Wojnowski is another lifelong Stratford resident who is committed to the town of Stratford. He's greatly contributed to the town and specifically to Paradise Green. Donut Crazy has signed a lease for this property. He's going to relocate his donut shop at its current location on the corner of Main and Wilcoxon. He's simply growing like crazy. He's outgrown this location. He now has locations in addition to Stratford in Shelton, New Haven, Bridgeport, coming soon to the Westport train station. Donut Crazy has also purchased property on Browning Street in Stratford, where they've invested a great deal of money into a state-of-the-art kitchen, where he's mass-producing these unbelievable donuts for his growth. So this operation is, again, a major contributor to Stratford. And as I'm speaking, I'd like to I'd like to submit photos of some of the other locations. Bunch of copies for you guys to just to get a feel for the type of operation that this is going to be.
You need the stamp? Do you have the stamp over there? Oh.
There's a bunch of sets of photos for all you guys to look at.
Just send it up. We'll stamp it up here.
So again, this operation is a major contributor to Stratford, and this location will be a showplace that's going to greatly enhance Paradise Green. It'll be a great benefit and a great feature for the Paradise Green residents and the families. Mr. Reynolds and Mr. Wojnowski are going to invest a great deal of money and convert this rundown old gas station with used cars sitting in the lot into a gorgeous state-of-the-art donut shop that will service the surrounding Paradise Green community. This is certainly going to improve the quality of life of Paradise Green families. It's going to improve property values. It's going to be in harmony with the other uses in Paradise Green. I just can't think of a better reuse of this property. It's going to alleviate a parking problem at the current location where there's zero parking. That's going to be much better overall for the Paradise Green residents, and everybody's in favor of it in Paradise Green. I have a lengthy petition of Paradise Green residents that I'd like to submit in support of this petition. It's just going to be something that the families can walk to and enjoy their favorite coffee and donuts. It's really going to be even more of a part of their routines. And it's going to make the green area even more like the greens of Milford and Fairfield, where you can see families that live close by. They can walk to downtown establishments, and that's really what makes towns thrive when you have establishments like this that are family oriented. Now, Mr. Reynolds, the landlord, and Mr. Wojnowski, Donut Crazy, the tenant, they're excited about this opportunity to make Stratford better. And again, I think you are all familiar with Donut Crazy. I think you've all tasted their products, their coffee and donuts. It's just become hugely successful. It's great coffee, it's great donuts. Again, if you look at the photos that I passed out, those are the locations in Shelton, in downtown New Haven, in the Yale area. And because it's such a great product and a great establishment, they've outgrown their existing location due to the tremendous following. And this is the perfect spot to relocate, where there is plenty of on-site parking, as you can see from the plans, and compliance with all the zoning requirements of the CA district. But they need the special case approval tonight to move forward. On the agenda is an application for approval as a special case under 7.1, 7.1, and 7.1.7.2 of our zoning regulations, and that's to operate a takeout coffee and donut shop with outdoor seating, as you can see on the plans. And again, it's at 3500 Main Street. The property is in the CA district. This application does not require that we first obtain any variances. We're not here asking tonight for any variances. That's because, as Mr. Urbanski points out in his comments, the proposed use fully complies with all the zone development standards of the CA zone, including the parking requirement. This application is the first of its kind in Paradise Green that has sufficient parking. It fully complies with 12.5.7.1 of our regulations that says you need one space for every 100 square feet of floor area for drive-in or takeout establishments, and that is what we have as shown on our plan. It required 12 spaces for our 1,188 square foot building. And again, we're not expanding the building in any way. We're using the existing footprint. We're using the existing building and converting it into the donut shop. And we are a drive-in or takeout establishment under 1.13 of our regulations, which says any restaurant or food establishment where customers purchase food prepared and ready for consumption, which food is placed on or packaged in returnable throwaway containers for consumption either inside or outside of the building where the food is sold, either on or off the premises. And that's exactly what this operation is, and that's why all we need is the one space for every 100 square feet. We fully comply. I'd like to submit a copy of that reg.
How are we doing? Good?
Yeah, the glasses aren't working too well. Attorney Knott, I got to ask you about the prescription for this. Now, speaking of Attorney Knott, there have been many, many similar approvals over the years for similar food establishments in Paradise Green, and none of them have complied with the parking requirements for restaurant uses. Some had zero parking, some were way short of the parking needed, but nonetheless, they were granted. And Attorney Knott, he was the culprit in most of them, I do believe. And I have approximately 20 of them, which I'd like to submit. Now, I'm not as good as Attorney Knott, so I had to come here with the application that fully complies with the parking. Hopefully, I can get it granted, because he got all those granted without parking.
Love among friends.
Again, here we have all the on-site parking, a first in Paradise Green. And don't forget about all the families that are going to walk to this location. They're going to walk so they can get their favorite coffee and donuts. There's just never going to be a parking problem at this location. The proposal complies with all the special case criteria and objectives of Section 20 of our regulations. The proposed use conforms to all the requirements of the CA district. Mr. Habansky's comments confirm this. It is an allowable use in the CA district. It complies with parking, lot size, and setback requirements. Regarding the required rear yard of 32 feet, it's not applicable here because per our statutes, 8.2 and 8-13A, it's grandfathered in as being non-conforming. And we have a regulation 14.2.2 that says that with special case approval, you can go from a non-conforming use to a non-conforming use that's less intense, and that's what we're doing here. I submit copies of those statutes in the regulation. And Mr. Reynolds owns in the back anyways. So we fully comply with all the requirements of the CA district. The location, size, and intensity of this use is absolutely compatible and harmonious with the existing Paradise Green neighborhood. Shops, restaurants, cafes, and coffee shops are the character of Paradise Green. An old gas station with old cars and no gas is not in character of Paradise Green. Everybody knows all the gas stations are gone. They've all disappeared. They've all been torn down and reused. This is the best reuse that we're presenting in Paradise Green of the last gas station. Mr. Habansky confirms in his comments the area consists of the Paradise Green area of retail and commercial that are consistent with the proposed application, and that this proposed use is encouraged in the CA district. He goes on to say that this change of use from a repair shop to a coffee shop is an excellent opportunity to relinquish a far more intensive land use with a use that encourages activated space and pedestrian activity. The proposed use is in conformance also with the town plan of development. It's allowed in the CA district, and as Mr. Habansky points out, the proposed use is encouraged in the CA district and in Paradise Green. The design, location, and details of the proposed use shall not adversely affect safety in the streets. It will not increase traffic congestion. It will not interfere with highway circulation. The corner of Main and Brewster is existing. We are not impacting traffic conditions. As you can see from the plans, we're going to be eliminating congestion and making a better traffic flow by removing the curb cut on Main Street that's closest to Brewster. That's going to make traffic flow in and out safer and more predictable for pedestrians and motorists. And again, as Mr. Habansky states in his comments, we will keep the curb ramp to service the existing crosswalk. We'll cooperate also with the installation of any new stop signs. That was a suggestion of the police department. There will be no offensive emissions of noise, light, smoke, odor, gas, dust, or vibration. There's only going to be the great smell of coffee and donuts coming out of this location. The proposed use will not adversely affect tax valuations of neighboring properties. As you can see from the plans, we're going to add a row of arborvitae. It's going to be a landscape buffer to the rear of the property along the back of the parking lot. We're also going to make improvements in the front of the property to make it more attractive. There's going to be a landscape buffer that's not there now, that's between, at the end of the parking lot, that's going to be exactly like the landscape buffer at the mobile station across the street that was converted to office space. So again, we're making improvements that are in line with the Paradise Green landscape, and it's going to be more attractive to the neighbors and add to their property value. Eliminating an old gas station, which is such a not a good use of this property any longer, and replacing it with this mainstream coffee shop, it's certainly going to make neighbors happy and add value to their properties. The proposed use is not going to create fire or police hazards. The fire marshal has no comments. I spoke to him, and as he stated in his review, the plans will be submitted to him, and we'll go from there in complying with all the fire marshal requirements. The police have no comments other than suggesting a new stop sign, and we'll fully cooperate with that. The health, safety, and general welfare of the public will not be adversely affected by this proposed use. Now, regarding the health department comments, this is not zoning. It's not a zoning issue, but they mentioned something about DEP records with this property being on a potential list. I'd like to submit a copy of those records that show there was a leaking tank way back when it was a gas station. The tank removal has been completed. The case is closed. The conclusion was there's no release of petroleum. And again, the DEP has closed the case. So there's no issues with environmental problems there. And we know it's always a concern with old gas stations. And there's no restrictions against the use of this property.
Comments where they just wanted them to be aware.
And again, that's not even a zoning issue from our perspective. The architecture, character, and appearance of the existing building, again, we're using the existing building. As you can see from the plans, it's going to be enhanced, but it's also going to remain compatible and harmonious with the Paradise Green architecture. I mean, that's gorgeous. I think the neighbors are all going to want to look at that versus what you look at now. So it is going to be in harmony with the neighborhood. Again, Donut Crazy is using the existing gas station. It's going to be transformed into this vibrant new coffee shop. And I can't stress how much this is family-friendly and oriented to really the people who can walk there and enjoy it and gather with their families. At any one time, the number of employees are going to be 3, maybe 4. The hours of operation are going to be 7 days a week, 4:30 to 8 p.m. That's what they're doing now on the corner of Wilcox. And all the vehicle and pedestrian access ways, circulation, and the parking areas, as you can see from the plans, it's all safely designed to prevent traffic and pedestrian hazards. And as Mr. Urbanski points out, we did meet several times with the zoning staff prior to submitting our final plans. We went back and forth addressing concerns. We made modifications, and the modifications were really all about aesthetics and all about safety in mind. So this is a well-thought-out plan. with safety in mind, and with the aesthetics in mind, and really with the neighbors in mind. Because Paradise Green is unique. It's commercial, but it's a neighborhood. And it's just a great mix because it services that neighborhood. This plan, it just is completely keeps in mind the concerns of the neighbors, and I believe all the neighbors are in favor. Again, the entrances, the exits, the driveways, the walkways, it's all safe access, ingress and egress. Most of them are existing, but again, we're improving them with the one curb cut being eliminated. And again, that's important because it's on the corner of Main and Brewster. And those entrances and exits are going to be visible from both directions. The required 12-space parking lot and the entrances, they easily allow for maneuvering and backing up of vehicles. The fire lanes are adequate. The fire can come in and out. They're probably going to service the property if they have to right from the street. And again, that one curb cut elimination is important. It's going to further promote safe and convenient circulation. And there are existing safety devices there, the crosswalk, and again, we'll agree to a new stop sign if the police want us to.
Mr. Rosati,
Yes,
are you going to be ready for some questions?
I am just about ready. And then we'll have, I got to get this all in, I'm sorry. And again, there's landscaping and screening that we showed with the arborvitae row. That's going to be important to the Brewster residents. Lighting's going to be directed away from the neighborhoods. There's a dumpster with a concrete pad on the plans. There's also the outdoor dining request under Section 20 as required by 7.1.7.2. There's less than 16 seats outside, so we don't need additional parking under 12.5.7. The outdoor dining area is contiguous with the indoor coffee shop. We'll submit proper insurance as required. There's adequate space between the tables to allow pedestrian circulation. There's that seating is not like some seating on the sidewalk. It's against the building, so it will not interfere with the sidewalk or the parking lot. It won't restrict emergency access. Umbrellas and awnings will be closed when the seats are not in use. There's not going to be any live music. I'm just about done. So, Mr. Reynolds and Donut Crazy, they're committed to Paradise Green. They're committed to the town of Stratford. They want to further revitalize Paradise Green. They're going to spend a lot of time and money in turning this property around. It's going to result in a first-class, vibrant establishment for the town's families to gather. They're excited about this. It's what the town needs. It's what the neighbors want. We urge you to grant this application. When you grant this application, hopefully that's what you do, I have proposed findings I'd like to submit as an exhibit. Some suggestions in making your decision. Number one, the proposed use is a takeout establishment with outdoor seating. The proposed use is allowed in a CA zone subject to special case approval. The proposed use meets the parking requirements of 12.5.7.1, and it meets the zone development standards of the CA zone. The proposed use meets the special case criteria and objectives of 20.2.1 and site plan objectives of 20.2.2 of the regulations, and the proposed use is in harmony with Paradise Green and in conformance with the town plan of development. That's all. I'm sorry. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
We urge you to grant.
Well, I tell you, you brought us a lot of stuff tonight, but you forgot one important thing.
Okay.
You should have brought us coffee and donuts for
what?
everybody.
You know what? I was thinking of that.
Yeah.
I advised my client not to, because we didn't know how that would look.
Oh, I think it would have gone over well. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you for listening.
Okay, I'm going to open up to the commissioners for any questions. Mr. Fuller.
Just a couple, you answered a lot of the questions I was about to ask with your very thorough presentation. I just have a couple ones. With the curb cuts, well, first let me start with the simple one. The first picture in the exhibits here, the one that has the Let's Eat Donuts neon sign on the inside, we can't regulate signage on the inside, but do you anticipate any sort of neon signage anywhere on the exterior of the building or something in the windows?
My name is Jason Wojnowski. Our signage was drawn a little large on this, which we know needs its own application, so I get that. On the inside, there is an intention of having a Let's Eat Donut sign in the back.
Oh, okay, so it's nothing to be really shining out onto the,
And that front picture with the neon is in New Haven on the Yale campus.
oh yeah, it looked like some of the old.
In one of the other pictures, you'll see that it's more of a marquee light, like an old-time marquee light. It would be either of those, but it would be in the back of the store.
And just for a reference of like how much traffic you get now at your current location on the corner of Wilcox and Main Street, it's effectively right by the sitting duck.
The petition that I submitted, the papers, I put those out on Friday.
Okay, perfect. So the only other thing is that there has been some pretty bad pedestrian accidents, motor vehicle to pedestrian accidents in Paradise Green, just because there is not just more car traffic, but more foot traffic. Paradise Green's developing in a very nice little community-based sort of retail and commercial and food sort of zone. Just explain a little bit about the curb cuts and signage that you're doing to kind of, just for public record, so the public doesn't always get to read the documents that we get. So if, I don't know if Mr. Rosati or if you, Mr. Winowski, wants to just kind of explain how you have made that corner as safe as you possibly could.
So currently, there's three cuts. One here, I don't know how to explain it for the record, but to the left side of the property, one on the right side, and one on the Brewster side. We intend to keep the Brewster side closed, the one closest to the corner. That's where we know we need to keep the crosswalk so that ties it together. And the one that's closer to the Hamilton's Pharmacy. So it's a proper flow in and out. And by having the on-site parking, I think we're in better shape than where we are right now for pedestrians and people walking, especially with parking also along the back of the building also.
So, the only potential safety issue that I see for any, not just Donut Crazy, but any potential use at that location is pretty much the turn going northbound onto Main Street, just because you have those crosswalks and you have that parking lane versus the primary road lanes going north and south. So anything that could do just to kind of slow down traffic so they're not turning left and then just zooming down the road, anything to kind of make that the safest turn possible is definitely something that I think would be very necessary for this sort of project. And my final question is, are you still going to serve the maple bacon donut?
Yes. As Mr. Rosati said, we're in the process right now of building a kitchen on Browning Street to produce all of this product. So we are staying in Stratford. There's going to be probably about 25 people employed down there.
Oh, perfect. And just two more notes just to also highlight some of the very interesting elements of this application. This is a perfect sort of adaptive reuse that is consistent with the plan of conservation and development. It's consistent with Paradise Green. The other thing I noticed too that's very helpful is, in addition to meeting the parking requirements you have now, there's also a lot of Paradise Green is unique this way because it has public parking as well in that center lane and behind the buildings too. So whatever parking challenge you might have faced would have also been offset by also public parking access as well. So it's even a lesser burden than what you have currently.
I agree.
Thank you.
Mr. Full, the parking in front of Paradise Green along Main Street is also available.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Ms. Peppin?
I just have a couple questions.
Your hours are, did you say 4:30 in the
4:30
morning?
till 8
So
p.m.
will there be, I think that's the worst time that, when it's dark out, that people are crossing Main Street.
They-
There'll be some lighting at 4:30 in the morning, I would assume.
Yes, out in the
Okay, in
parking
the
lot,
parking-
but there's no parking across the street.
No, but that's where I think the pedestrians are getting into problems, is they're crossing Main Street at 6:30 in the morning, and it's dark.
Yes, that crosswalk goes to the park.
Okay.
Yeah.
The entrance is only on Main Street, and then the exit and entrance are on Brewster? Am I seeing that?
They're both two-way.
They're both two-lane, okay. Oh, okay. Let's see what else. Oh, the outdoor seating, that'll only be like certain months of the year, and then that,
I may leave one or two tables out. Some people
Okay.
sit outside even when it's
even
cold out,
when
but
it's cold out?
yes.
Okay. And that building is butted right up against the lawn part, like?
Yeah, there's a little retaining wall.
Okay.
So the building is, maybe 3 feet off the ground on the backside. So we're keeping the whole structure, keeping the stone, keeping the slate.
Okay. I know, can you put the picture back up of I like the idea. I think for Paradise Green, though, it looks a little bit too modern-y.
Well, just,
Those windows in the front or something, I don't know.
exist. This
It-
wall existed.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna take them from aluminum to possibly black.
Oh, okay. Because I know, it doesn't have stone out on
The stone is still here. We
Oh,
can't
okay.
represent that well.
Okay.
But the only appreciable change right here.
Oh, I see, okay,
Currently, there's a window in the middle.
okay,
They can't really make the kitchen work.
Okay.
I promise that I can do something.
okay,
to change.
okay.
So it's 2 new windows and a door in the center.
Maybe it's the roof that looks modern.
Yeah, it's not
I
a
don't know.
phenomenal,
I don't know.
An artistic
Okay,
rendering.
okay. But it will have like shingle, like whatever.
It's
style.
going to stay the same stone,
Okay.
and it's going to stay the same slate roof.
Oh, okay,
We're just going to change the garage doors most likely to black
okay,
aluminum roll-up.
okay.
I think I saw
And
Mr.
it's only a dine-in or takeout. Am I correct?
Yeah.
It's not a drive-through?
No.
It's a right, okay,
The smaller half of the building will be our counter and kitchen area.
okay,
And to the point of the sign would be somewhere on this back wall.
okay.
Along this line, so, like 12 feet back from the space. And this would just be a few seats inside and
Okay,
Potentially a couch or two.
okay, thank you.
I think I saw Mr. Giuliano first before Mr. Paul. Is that true? No? Mr. Paul? Either one.
Thank you. I just want to comment on an excellent presentation and a very comprehensive, well-thought-out plan. I haven't seen one of those in quite a while.
Thank you.
But I just wanted to mention that I was just curious, people that ride bicycles in the summertime, how do they park their bicycles? Where would they park their bikes as they go in?
It's a good one we didn't think of yet. We'll figure that
I
out.
want to consider that. Yeah, otherwise you got everything else pretty well covered.
I would easily say, since our dumpsters are going to be fenced on the side, we would do something along the side, potentially.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Giuliano?
You showed a list of all the people that were in favor of it. Did any of the businesses right there on that end over there have anything? Did you talk to any of them about the impact?
I received a phone call today from Hannah's Market.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. And that was in favor for it?
It was in favor, was only going to come to the meeting if he was against. And I had a little bit of misinformation that was put out there on what the application was, so I clarified that.
So they were for it and everything? then?
Yes.
Yeah, and
So-
even on Brewster Street, you reached out to
So
them people too?
I spoke to Mr. Catalano multiple times. Mr. Catalano had seen the plan,
Who's that?
came down to the town and called me after he had seen the plan. I spoke to him today.
He reserved a table.
Outside?
Yeah, he's already reserved a table.
Outside because he'll bring the dog.
Trying to think of some
So, Mr.
Shakespeare thing
Catalano,
for 'em there for that.
Mr. Siklis, I spoke to this morning, Hannah's, and, you know, of course, my neighbors at the Sitting Duck.
And just one more, I like the idea of the way you cut out the other entrance, because my print shows that other entrance, and you cut that out now, so you'll still have the exit out, it looks like, over to that side street, whatever, it's not a street, of Hamilton, where Hamilton is, so you'll be able to come out of the... Yeah,
That's not our property.
but it's open to it, because there's no wall or anything.
Correct.
Right, so that'll be still coming out right there.
Yes.
So it'll help it, it
Yeah.
actually works in favor for you.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's fine, excellent.
And then
That's
could
all I
also
have.
overflow into the back.
Yeah, but, correct, thank you. That's all, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I had one question, going back to the other design, and Mr. Hibansky and I were sitting there commenting. The garage doors, what was the garage doors? Will they rise up like they do at the Sitting Duck for an open?
We're debating that right now. My intention would be for both, but the fallback may be one, or possibly the top two tiers of glass be fixed and maybe open the bottom.
Bottom up.
I have to figure out just the difference in cost and reward of the amount of time that they can be open. And I did meet with the health department also this morning, and she's on board as long as I cover all of the typical things.
Excellent. I agree with Mr. Paul. It's an excellent application. It's an excellent design. I'm disappointed you didn't bring any donuts, but I think I'll survive. Yes, Mr. Rosati.
One comment about Mr. Giuliano's comment. That exit in between this property and the old Hamiltons, the asphalt does merge, and people may come from the back around, but technically, and we don't need it, so we don't have to rely upon it. Technically, that goes for the use of the Hamiltons down by way of a common easement. We do not need that driveway, but the asphalt does merge. We do not have to rely upon that in any way for our entrances and exits and our parking. We have it all self-contained on 3500 Main Street.
Okay.
Just curious, when are you planning on moving?
It's a good question. We're trying to get into the kitchen in about a month, so I would hope for the summertime. That would be my best case. Just a couple last points on the pictures that I had submitted. Each store is a little bit different. So Shelton, for instance, has a little more of a barn board feel, antique vinyl plank floors and a different feel. This store will have a little bit of both. So it's not going to be exactly like the neon, high gloss blue paint you see there. It's going to be something that's in keeping with a little stone slate building, and we'll blend in.
Thank you. Are there any other further questions for the applicant? Mr. Fuller?
Oh, yeah, I just forgot one last one, just in reference to the outdoor seating. My understanding is you're not looking to exceed 16 seats outdoors.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. It doesn't matter what number is less than that. It's not to exceed the 16. Okay, thank you. Thank
Any
you,
other
ma'am.
questions? Excellent. At this point, I'm going to ask and turn it to the public. And is there any other comments that you want to make?
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. If you want, you can move that to the side so people can see it. If there are anyone who is in favor of this application and would like to speak to support it, may you come forward now. Okay, if there's anybody in opposition to this application and would like to speak to it, may you come forward now. Seeing that, yes.
Hello, members of the Zoning Commission. My name is Scott Farrington Posner, 76 Homestead Avenue. I'm the 2nd District Town Councilman. First, I want to say welcome to the 2nd District. You're currently in the 7th, and we're happy to have you coming over to the 2nd. So I think this is a great application. I think it's going to be a wonderful addition to Paradise Green. I did look at the plans, and I have spoken with former Councilman Matt Catalano, We both are in agreement that this is going to add to the community in Paradise Green. It's something that's needed, a cafe, somewhere where people can gather together, have a, have a cup of coffee, a donut, build community, and that's what I'd like to see happening in my district. So welcome. I do have one small concern that I know that there's been some misinformation possibly out there about a eventual possible drive-through and a raise of a house behind it. And all I want to say is I don't know if that's true or not, or something maybe planned for the future, but if it is, I'd ask for there to be outreach to me and to the community if that's something that's in the plans long-term. But welcome, and I look forward to visiting your location.
What was your name again? Who was that?
Is there anybody else who would like to make a comment? Mr. Rosati or Mr. Wojnarowski, do you want to reply? Otherwise, I'll ask to table. I'll ask for a motion to table.
I make a motion.
By Ms. Peppin, second by Mr. Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair,
Point of order.
yes, please.
Are we asking the table as in to continue the hearing at another time, or are we looking to close the hearing?
I'm closing the hearing.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
okay.
Correction. Motion to close the public hearing by Ms. Peppin, second by Mr. Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chair votes yes. All unanimous. Thank you. And this is now moving on to the next application. Thank you. Okay, we're skipping. Thank you. This is the Ferry Boulevard? 955. Ms. Peppin, you have the next one, 955?
We are 955 Ferry Boulevard, petition of UB Dockside LLC, seeking special case approval for a new boat showroom in a CAWF district.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Knott, you want to start us off and introduce yourself?
Good evening, Ms. Pippin, Madam Chairman, Madam Secretary, members of the Commission, and Mr. Hibansky. My name is Barry Knott. I'm a lawyer with the firm of Knott, Dunn, with offices at 1656 Main Street, Stratford. And I'm here this evening on behalf of UB Dockside LLC, which does business as the Dock Shopping Center at 955 Ferry Boulevard in Stratford. At this time, I would like to submit the certificates of mailing and make reference to a folder of exhibits, which I've just handed each of you, to which I will be making reference during the course of my presentation. Now, exhibits 1, 2, and 3 are photographs of the location where we are proposing to construct a 10,000 square foot, 2-story boat showroom. And just to get you oriented to these photos, if you look in photograph number 1, you see a parking lot with an oil truck and a mail truck, and in the back you see a sign out at the street. That sign is the entrance to the Dock Shopping Center, which is located right across the street from the Harborside Restaurant. So that's the entrance to the dock. You come down the roadway into the Dock Shopping Center, and the roadway, you can see the roadway in photograph number 2. You can see the bridge in the rear, and then you can see the entrance roadway and the parking lot that I'm talking about best in photograph 3. Now, I've been going to the shopping center. I've been representing these people for 20 or 25 years. I've been going to the shopping center longer than that. Until I went out and took these photographs, I never even realized this parking lot was there. You go right by it, you don't even see it. Nobody uses it, okay? But anyway, that's where we're proposing to put this boat showroom. Now, Exhibit 4 is a rendering of what the proposed boat showroom will look like. Now, having said that, I prepared this exhibit for you earlier today. In the meantime, you're going to be hearing from our architect, who is going to address you shortly, and he has a revised rendering, which I think you will like a little bit better than this one. So you don't have to spend a lot of time on Exhibit 4. Exhibit 5 is a global site plan of the whole of the Dock Shopping Center. This is both sides of I-95. If you look in the upper left, that's where Stop and Shop is. Then it's bisected by I-95, and in the lower portion to the right is where BJ's and everything else is. And you can see that I've highlighted in yellow on this exhibit the area of that little parking lot that I just showed you in those photos. That area is where this boat showroom is going to go. Now, one thing that I want to point out, well, I'll get to that. I'll get to that. Exhibit 6 is another rendering of the site that shows strictly the area where the boat showroom is going to be. This is a blow-up of the site plan just in that area, and you can see I've highlighted in yellow the area where the boat showroom is going to be. I've also highlighted in the upper left some numbers, and those are parking numbers, and I know it's very difficult to see those from the plan that's in my folder. However, there's a larger plan that was submitted with the application. The important thing about those numbers is in the lower right-hand corner of that box that I've got highlighted in yellow, you can see in parentheses, plus 119. That means that we have 119 more parking spaces on this site than we are required to have under your zoning regulations. So I'm not coming in here asking you to give us a parking lot where we can put up 10,000 square feet and have that parking lot take away parking that we need to comply with the zoning regulations. Even after this proposal is approved, we're still going to have 119 parking spaces more than we need under the zoning regulations. Exhibit 7 is a floor plan for the first and second floor of the proposed boat showroom. Please note that the first floor space will constitute retail space for the sale of boats and accessories, and that the second floor space will be used as self-storage lockers for customers of the marina. This is, you know, if you got a boat at the marina, you got to store stuff, and you don't want to be lugging it back and forth every time you go. They're going to have lockers upstairs on the second floor that you can rent, and you can store your whatever in there, your life vest. This is an application for special case approval for a new boat showroom in a CAWF zone. As you know, this location is commercial in nature, allowing for retail, sales, and services, as well as water-dependent uses. At this time, I want to introduce Scott Mitchell, who's the current tenant and owner of the Boardwalk Marina, who will be operating the boat showroom and who will explain the need for this retail area and the mechanism as to how it will operate. Scott?
Good evening, and thank you for taking the time and hearing us again. As we've stated in the past, we've expanded the marina, the operations of boat rentals, fuel, repairs, service, and now we're a Bayliner, Mercury dealer, and a couple other boat lines. And we think it's really going to make a big difference for us to be kind of standalone and not buried out in either the corner where the restaurant was or the corner where we took over Bank of America and that type of situation. So it's basically, we're going to have 6 or 8, 7 boats on display. We're going to move the bathrooms and laundry and all those things for the marina customers from the restaurant end of things up to this end of things. And that should really be the big trade-off of what we're doing. We're going to come out of the plaza and be standalone and independent. And I think for the customers, upstairs is going to be a big benefit.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, Exhibit 8 is the letter from Carol Szymanski, who is an environmental analyst at the DEEP, and she indicates that the proposed first floor elevation of the building is 11 feet. While it is acceptable to build at base flood elevation, we recommend an additional foot of freeboard so that the first floor elevation is 12 feet. Coastal resources on or near the development site include coastal area hazards, modified bluffs and escarpments, rocky shorefronts, intertidal flats, freshwater wetlands, etc. Since the proposed building provides boat sales and storage space, and does include restrooms and showers for marina patrons, it will therefore provide upland support for the in-water marina use and be considered to support a water-dependent use. Now, based upon Carol's suggestion that we raise the elevation of the first floor of this building from 11 to 12, we have in fact done that, and the plans that have been submitted to you are at 12, not at 11, just so you know. And then Exhibit 9 is a letter from the Board of Zoning Appeals dated December 7, 2016. We needed 2 variances in order to build this at this location, and those variances were granted. Exhibit 9 is the approval of the CAM application. We needed a CAM application in order to construct this building, and Exhibit 9 is a copy of the CAM application approval letter. Exhibit 10 is a letter from the Waterfront and Harbor Management Commission to Jay, dated December 5th, 2016. The Harbor Management Commission, after listening to an extensive presentation from us vis-a-vis the consistency with this proposal with our harbor management plan, made a finding to the effect that this application was consistent with the harbor management plan, and that opinion is reflected in Exhibit 10. Now, the Exhibit 11 is the ZBA variance approval letter having to do with 2 variances. One, we needed a variance of the regulation that says you're only allowed to have 1 principal building on a lot. Obviously, this lot is so large that we already have 3 or 4 or 5 principal buildings on it. So we needed a variance of that regulation. And the other one was a variance of the open space regulation. We're supposed to have 20%, and we've only got 8%, and as I indicated, those were granted. Now, Maureen Whalen from the Health Department stated in her administrative comments, given the historical past use of the site as a cold storage facility, coal storage facility, C-O-A-L, appropriate digging environmental considerations should be taken for this project. Exhibit 12 is a letter from Steve Holtman, a licensed engineer and LEP from Woodard and Curran Civil Engineers. They've been handling the environmental issues on this site since Erstad Biddle bought it, probably 18 years ago. And he's opining here that this area of the site is not an area of the site where coal had been stored. And as you can see from the language that I've highlighted in Exhibit 12, he does not anticipate a problem. Tina Beto, the Conservation Administrator, in her administrative comments dated January 11th, raised issues relating to the hydrology of the rain garden, project phasing, and the location of trash receptacles. This time I want to introduce Mr. Rob Aiello, a licensed engineer and associate principal of JMC Civil Engineers of Armonk, who will address these issues. And Exhibit 12A is a recapitulation in more detailed form of the things that Rob is going to talk to you about right now. Rob?
Thank you, Attorney Knott. Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the Commission. Rob Aiello with JMC. As Attorney Knott had mentioned, we've provided tonight a letter in response to the Conservation Administrator's January 11th memorandum. The memorandum deals with some questions about the retaining walls proposed along the back of the building, just for orientation. This is US 1, Ferry Boulevard, the driveway coming in, going towards BJ's, and this is the new facility. So with regard to the retaining wall in the back of the building, the structural engineer will provide that detail, and we'll provide that under separate cover. But there were some questions regarding the rain garden that's proposed in this location here. And the rain garden is intended to mitigate the slight increase in impervious area, about 600 square feet, the equivalent of about 3 parking spaces. And that rain garden will take runoff from half of the building, which is 2,500 square feet. And we've provided in our letter information regarding the technical sizing of that rain garden, as well as the plantings that will be utilized within it, and also a maintenance plan associated with that feature, as well as the other stormwater features on the project. There was also questions regarding phasing. This project is intended to be built in one phase. As Mr. Knott mentioned before, it's a very remote portion of the site and underutilized. Lastly, there was a comment and request for a trash enclosure to be provided, and we have included one on the west side of the building in this location here. In general, this side will function as the more of the service-oriented side, and this will be the more customer service-facing side.
Thank you. Before I continue with my presentation, I just want to bring to the attention of the commission that Mr. Wojciechowski just made a delivery from Donut Crazy. Don't say that man doesn't pick up a hint, huh? All right, in any event, in Jay's comments, he states, the proposed boat showroom and storage facility is consistent in character with the type of development in the general vicinity. The existing shopping plaza in which the application is proposing development has multiple retail sales and service establishments already on the site. Jay also discusses the potential high visibility of the proposed new building, drainage and hydrology issues which have already been addressed by Rob Aiello. The drainage and the hydrology has been addressed by Mr. Aiello. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Chris Raffaelli, an architect from Studio Architects, who will address the architectural issue.
Good evening, Chris Raffaelli with Studio Architecture. Literally, as I'm walking out the door to get here, hitting print, we've revised the facade based on comments in the letter with regard to the industrial nature of the look of the building. So I don't have any large format drawings, but I'll pass these out to the board. So you see the building is essentially the same size. We've adjusted the roof pitch a bit to make it a little more residential feel. The overall theme is intended to be more of a nautical feel rather than the previous design. We've increased the size of the clapboard, the moldings. We've added some awnings over the windows to try and address the scale of the building. The blue pieces on the facade are intended to be a composite panel for longevity. Same with the white, that's all composite moldings. The awnings will be metal, so they don't fade and rip. The base stone is simply a water table around the entire property, or around the entire building, and also to enclose any exposed concrete that would be used to form the ramps, stairs, and walkways.
Thank you. If you compare that exhibit that Chris just handed you to Exhibit 4, which was the previous rendering, you'll see what a substantial improvement it has made. Now, Exhibits 13, 14, and 15 are tax bills for the Dock Shopping Center. If you were to do the arithmetic, you would see that this property owner, Erstad Biddle Properties, pays $1,191,222.76 in taxes to the town of Stratford every year. Now, I'm not suggesting that a huge taxpayer should be treated any differently than small taxpayers by this or any other regulatory body. However, as economic development issues become more and more prevalent and important to the financial success of any town, state, or country, it is incumbent upon all elected officials to present their respective community to their taxpayers in as favorable a light as possible. Finally, this is an application for special case. Your special case approval criteria are set forth in Section 20.2.1 of the zoning regulations. Conformity to the plan of development, check. Location, size, and intensity shall be compatible in relation to the size of the property, check. In conformance with the town plan of development, check. Location and specific details of the proposed use shall not increase traffic congestion or interfere with any pattern of highway circulation. Check. As you can see from where this proposed location is going to be, it's going to have no impact whatsoever on ingress or egress parking considerations in the shopping center. The emission of noise, light, smoke, odor, gas, dust, or vibration, non-existent, shall not adversely affect tax valuation. It will improve tax valuation, and it will not create any fire or police hazards. If you look at the administrative comments, the fire department, neither the fire department nor the police department had any comments regarding this application. So I believe it deserves your favorable consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Knott. At this point, I'd like to open it up to questions from the commissioner. Ms. Pepin?
I have a couple. The hours of operation will be...
Come up. Come to the mic.
No,
Come to the mic.
in other words, anyone who has a boat can come and use your facilities? How
Well,
does
the
that work?
bathrooms we currently have down,
Okay.
you can't even
And you
tell
did
them.
that, did you have those before, or those were?
They've been there
Okay.
since the beginning of time.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the laundry in case they need to wash stuff?
That's
so-
correct.
So they don't like have to be a member of your,
Well, they will because they'll need access. So it's a
Okay.
digital key card, actually, just like you would get access to a building. Same way they get to and from
Okay.
their boats.
so
with
you'll have
security.
maybe a couple employees, like, so they can get there 24 hours?
Yeah, no one needs to
24/7?
be there. If you're staying the
Okay.
weekend on your boat and camping out and you
Okay.
want to go use the restrooms or take a shower, that's your prerogative 24/7.
Okay,
Same situation right now.
okay. One other question, I can't remember what it was. Oh, and then, referring to the rain garden, all that's taken care of maintenance-wise? I heard them say that before.
absolutely.
Trash receptacles.
I think the trash receptacle is kind of a standard thing in town. Every unit we have has a fenced-in, concrete padded, that's where you put the dumpster kind of thing.
Okay. I know Jay had made a comment about the slope, but that's taken care of with the wall, or?
The retaining wall you're talking about?
Yeah, or no, Jay?
That was conservation.
It was raised in the height 1 foot, so that area's a slope down
So
to
now
the
it's-
water.
okay.
So now instead of having a 4-foot wall, let's call it, now it's a 5-foot wall.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
And there'll be no boat repairs done there,
The
or?
repairs are done out by the gas stations, by Stop and Shop's gas station, that brown and tan building we have.
Okay, okay.
All that stuff's
that's
done
over
there.
there. So this
Yep.
is strictly a showroom plus
And customer
access?
service, that's
Gotcha.
about it, exactly.
Okay, I have no more questions, thank you.
Good. Mr. Giuliano?
The height of that, I missed that part, because,
The height of the building?
yeah, you know what, I don't know if I missed it, driving over the Devon Bridge and stuff, I mean, in relation to that, am I gonna be driving over and seeing a wall, a roof? I mean, is it higher, lower, is it, that's
The
what I'm
high
getting
point,
at.
yeah, the high point of that road is 30 feet, right? And is 30 feet, and the highest point on the building, the ridge, is right about 33 feet.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm just thinking that it'll be a little higher than,
I think his question is, as he's coming across the Devon Bridge, now, when you look over, you look right into the shopping center. What would you see when they look over? Will they see the wall of the showroom, or will they see above it? Do you know?
From your questions, as you come across from Milford to Stratford, we're gonna be on the bridge itself, and then as we start going down that hill, you're just gonna touch the roof line of this building, but only after you come, almost to the light.
yeah, what I'm saying is I'm not gonna be looking over and seeing a 2,500-foot wall in front of me, you know what I mean?
No, it's not
gonna
gonna be
above you or anything is what I was saying. I just want, I mean, if the roof is even-ish or whatever, as long as it's not,
Within 2 feet, one way or the other. And
yeah.
it's gonna be a
And then the other thing is, what about I think it's the complete streets, because right over on your print there, we have, if that ever goes through, it comes out underneath that bridge and comes out where that walkway is, that wooden walkway over there, that, and it starts in over at Riverview. It starts in at Riverview and it goes underneath there, and that's supposed to be like a bicycle path sooner or later, and it comes out like right next to
That
you.
won't interfere with this at all. So our water footprint, in layman's terms, I don't know what all these guys have to say about it, but if you, in layman's terms, the parking lot kind of ends, and then we start that green space that goes out to the fishing pier and the walkway that we have and the benches. And what you're talking about, I believe, is that little underway that goes underneath the
Yeah,
drawbridge. That's all
eventually
going to
that's going to be a bike path, and
This is
you know,
gonna have no
I don't know if
effect
I'll
on
see it in my lifetime, I'm just saying.
No effect.
And it would go through there, maybe a space would be in the way, and at that time, we might have to make a stipulation for that or something. Or
That's not even anywhere near this location.
it's in their lot, and it's right where that thing is.
Yeah, but if you look at the delineation here,
It's right over here on, it's over on this side here.
see?
Yeah, it's
So
right
our
there.
line here is that delineation.
You want one,
line
don't
you're
you?
talking about.
Yeah,
Everything from here forward is the green space and the conservation.
all right, as long as, you know, eventually that's going to come through.
Yep, no, I'm just making sure we're on the same page.
Yeah,
So that bridge should be right in here.
all right.
That tunnel comes under,
And this is going to be on pilings? Are you driving down, or what's going on
I
with
believe
that?
we're on pot.
You're going on pilings, right? Because, no, you're going to dig down? Slab on grade?
Somebody who knows what they're talking about, come up here, please. I don't.
Good evening, Rob Aiello. We are working with a geotechnical engineer now to understand what the pile foundations or what
Yeah.
standard foundations will be. We haven't yet determined what that will need to be.
All right, because I know that's been a touch-and-go situation over there between the years that was going on, which Attorney Knott noted earlier, even though he said it was on the other side. But those plumes do work their way around, is all. I'm just making sure that you're aware of that. That's all. No, that's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Paul?
I like boats, so anything that has to do with boats out there, I think is very attractive. But I have three questions. One has to be, could you just go over the access to the showroom from the marina? If a boater wanted to get off their boat and walk to that building, where did they go and how did they get there?
Sure, they would come in, what you can barely see here is, which is H-dock, our last dock. There's a gate that comes right up here by the flagpole, and literally you're 15, 25, 30 feet between the parking lot and the dock access. And then they just walk right up and here you go, you're right in. So what's gonna happen is this is the public fishing pier. So they'll still have their parking there, and we're hoping to gain obviously a lot of business and traffic through that. The Milford ramp is scheduled to open again next year or the year after once we're done with the Wheeler Bridge. So this whole thing should finally just come together.
Okay. Also, far as taking in boat deliveries into the facility, how does that work?
It's going to stay the same way. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the big blue gantry crane. It's called the travel lift in our business. That crane is used over by the lift well, and we take the boats. They usually come in a load of 5 or 6 at a time, take them off individually, set them down, and then we'll move them around on trailers.
Will there be any need to worry about traffic flow of people coming into the mall area at that time?
I don't know. No, unloading and loading will have nothing to do with that. It's in that whole separate corner down by the restaurant.
Okay. And my final question is, are you planning to have, on having any boats outside on display, or is it always going to be inside?
It depends on whatever the regs are. I mean, currently we're allowed to have certain boats in certain areas. It may not be right here, it may be over there, so as in zoning knows, whatever they want, we do, so
Yeah.
I can't tell you that.
You don't have any idea, if you had to show me on the drawing, where would you display those boats? You have no
Our
idea?
goal with the design of this building, you actually have that, can I borrow that drawing that's right in front of you?
Yeah.
So, our thought when we designed this was to really keep everything kind of inside. Number one, because of handling. Number two, because of cleaning and dirt and everything else that goes on. So this is a roller door, and one of these is supposed to be a roller door. So our thought is that we could kind of display the boat half in the building, half out of the building, and that's more than enough. I mean, if you're coming to us, it's not a 20-minute purchase where, hey, let's go spend 50 grand today. So we don't really have to put them out on display, so to speak. It's not a last-minute purchase.
Just to follow up, and I'm going to let Mr. Paul finish his question, but it's a tag on. When I've gone down to the store in Bridgeport,
Bass Pro Shop.
Bass Pro, they have a number of boats outside, and you're not planning on doing something similar?
My hands are kind of tied with zoning in this town about what is or what isn't allowed. We would, of course, love to do that. That is our number one competitor. That is our number one goal. When we talked about building this building, we said, let's do a Bass Pro Shop. Some of these regulations don't want any signs on this building. One night we were here and no one wanted to look nautical. So we're just trying to work within the parameters that are put in front of us.
Okay. And Mr. Paul, do you want to finish your questions?
Yeah, I'd just like to explore those roadblocks a little bit more. Not tonight, probably, but, you know, maybe it's just me, but I love the sight of both, and we need to enhance our marine life and our shoreline and our riverfront more, and boating's one way to do it. So if there's any roadblocks out there, I'd love to find out about them.
Thank you very much.
And I would concur. It kind of bothers me as well, but I understand the restrictions. The process would be to bring your thoughts forward through your attorney to Mr. Urbanski, and we would look at it.
And if I may, I mean, part of this future and growth is, you know, now we do boat rentals and we do boat repairs and we do boat sales and we do engine sales and we do all these things. We want to get eventually into the point where we have an eco-tour boat to explore the marsh and do things that, you know, you see in communities that are based upon boating, as everybody's talking about. You have a little ticket booth and you sell your little day out rides and those kind of things. So that's where we're headed with this whole thing, is to put the whole package together.
Please share that with us. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fuller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Mr. Knott and the petitioner. Ultimately, I see a concept here that's very good to open up some of the riverfront. It's an underutilized asset in our town. I have a couple questions. The first one, just looking at the schematics, which would be Mr. Knott's, I believe it is number 5 and number 6. How drawn to scale is the rectangular showroom to that lot? Is that pretty close? I'm looking at a pretty decent proportion.
It's drawn exactly to scale.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. And the other one, the question was about the plus 119 parking spaces.
Yes.
And this may be more of a planning and zoning administrator question as opposed to your question, but if you have it, please feel free. The 119, is that specifically for the boathouse, or is that aggregate for the dock?
That's for the whole shopping center. The whole
Okay, so
shopping.
you're not taking less than plus 119, so you're still within the whole
That's right.
surplus of parking that's required. My other questions is, are you applying to have boats displayed outside at the boathouse, at the showroom, in that area? I'm not talking about the...
There's no regulation under which we can apply for that right now.
Okay, perfect.
Because outdoor sales is only allowed in certain circumstances. This is not one of them. We may come in later on and talk about an amendment to the zoning
text
regulations.
amendment of some kind.
But not at this time.
And my other question is, what sort of soil survey has been done right under the proposed location?
Well, that's Exhibit 12A in my handout.
Okay.
Which is the letter that was written by our LEP licensed
And that's the
environmental.
one that's concluded that this was not connected to the previous coal facility.
Right, exactly.
And then my final question is, and let me, I just kind of lost my train of thought. Actually, no, I don't have any more questions. Thank you, Mr. Knott.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have a couple of questions, if you can help. First is around, the design is much improved.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. I do tend to think that there should be a little decoration of nautical wheels or something that kind of represents a typical boat show, maybe a wind veil or something, but that's not required. But my main thought is signage. Now, I did take note of the BZA requirements, and I understand the regulations, but my question is, was there any thought to put signage? And if you were to put signage, what was that thinking?
Yes, if I may.
Come over here. Well, we're not asking for any variances of the signing regulations,
I understand.
and therefore, we are entitled to a wall sign only, and the size of the sign is a function of the frontage of the property on Ferry Boulevard. I don't remember what the calculation is.
I recognize that you're not asking for it, but I'm really asking to give us some insight as to what you're thinking might be when you return.
If I may, our thoughts, or my thoughts, are to brand this as the dock, number one. Number two, to have the brands that we represent, Bayliner, which is, you know, the most sold boat in the world, Mercury, Merc Cruiser, Volvo Penta, Yamaha, so on and so forth, and have those logos on those awnings, as you can see, that type of stuff. Tastefully done, as you would see and expect to see at Bass Pro Shops, at Marine Max, at Surfside 3, at any of the large Three Bells, any of the normal big player places that this is built around. So we do have some issues to overcome. I don't know if, is this, no? Okay. So, I mean, I'm sure Barry will walk his way through this with us, and hopefully we'll be able to get there. First, we have to get the building, right?
So at this point, you're thinking down the road, at some point, you may be doing some kind of branding of the...
Well, as far as the suggestion about the ship's wheel on the side of the building, that's not a sign, that's a decoration.
Yes, I'm
So
agreeing with
we
you.
we can do that kind of stuff.
That was just a
Yeah.
comment, not necessarily, it's just typical that you kind of look to brand it,
So
but
the only comment I have is that we are going to be complying with the zoning regulations vis-à-vis signage.
the question was more to think about what you need to be successful, and to understand what opportunities that you might be looking for is the question. You have a very large roof space, for example, and it's become popular in certain areas to actually put signage on the roof, you know, lettering, big block lettering.
That
or
issue
something.
came up at both the Harbor Management Commission meeting and the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. Neither one of those commissions want to see anything on the roof of this building.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know, if that had come up. Okay. Is there any other questions, Mr. Fuller?
Oh, yeah, just to, thank you, Madam Chair. Just to dovetail on to the signage questions, and I do believe businesses should have the opportunity to promote themselves as part of success, whether brand awareness or advertising to physical location. One of the questions, and this is not really something that zoning could approve or disapprove because it's already present, but are you looking to have a sign in that big border signs that says like Petco, West Marine, BJ's?
Yeah.
I mean, that, you don't need zoning, it's still already a sign, so you
yeah.
can put whatever you want
Right,
on it.
that's
but-
right. Yeah.
Okay, so there's already.
You know,
gonna
we may be
some-
coming, we may come back in 6, 8, 10 months from now, whatever. If we find out we got a problem, we'll bring it to your attention, ask for whatever relief is appropriate, and deal with it at that point in time.
So it's effectively too soon to tell what would be
Yeah, right.
appropriate signage.
That's right.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Knott. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is there any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, if there are no more questions for the commissioners, I'd like to open up to the public. Mr. Knott, can you move the board over to the side just a little bit, or, thank you. And anybody who wished to speak in favor of this application and support, please come forward at this time. Anybody in favor? Okay. Anybody opposed to this application? Against? Please come forward.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Name's Walter P. Remunis, reside at 425 2nd Avenue, Lordship, Connecticut. I was one of the ones that questioned the installation at the Waterfront Commission and at the Zoning Appeals. First of all, this is the only two-story building on the lot. Everything else is single floors, tall, but single floors. On the second floor roof, it was brought up by you that it's a big building. A lot of frontage up there. I know, I've seen this man operate. I want to guarantee that there will be no merchandise on that roof. Boats, jet skis, or any other paraphernalia associated with this. It will be just a clear roof. You're going to have a building facing the dock, and you got a part of the building facing the off-ramp from the Devon Bridge. Is he going to be allowed signage on all three sides of the building, facing the parking lot, facing the off-ramp off the bridge, and facing the on-ramp into the dock? Part of it is okay, but I've seen they used to store snow over there when we had these big snowstorms. Where are they going to store it now? It would be up there, and it'd be there, last there almost till April, so a couple times, 2 years ago, when we had that big storm. You're taking away a spot on that. The man wants to make money? Fine. Keep it clean. I don't want to see all this gerrymandering stuff like he did with the boat up there on top of the sign up there by 95. That's how. There's certain signs within the town on the signage. Let's keep to that. We don't want to be a circus here, like some other parts within there. It's been done already. I don't want to see that. This is a shopping mall, Stop and Shop, BJ's, and all the others. Fine. They more or less keep a nice clean face. Some of it has been changed. I don't want to see any more shenanigans going on with all this fancy stuff like we saw one time with jet skis over there on Ferry Boulevard. And we have the other boats all over the parking lot. There were rentals for the jet skis over there for a short time. Let's keep it clean. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak or even make a statement? Would the applicant like to respond?
Just to say that the boat that's on top of the sign on I-95 was the subject of a petition approved by this board 5 years ago. So it's not like he just went up and put a boat up there. We had the hearing and everything.
And I think
I've never heard you speak in favor of anything, Walter.
Okay, all right. I think the other thing to Mr. Rakunis's point, that the applicant has said that they will comply with all existing signage regulation. So I think that's in the record. Is that correct, Mr. Knott?
Yes.
Okay. All right, unless there's no other comment, Mr. Fuller?
Just one last question that I probably was the most important one and I forgot it, so I apologize. Mr. Knott, can you speak to about, would there be any fuel, petroleum products, anything that, or boat cleaning products, and how would those be disposed in a clean and safe way?
All boats come into a dealership just like new cars with some gasoline in them, and all engines come in with oil in them. It's not a service area, so I can't lie to you and say there won't be anything in there, because every boat in there will have some of both in them, but other than, you know, speedy dry and whatever else is required of us, it's not a service area. So I don't think disposing of fuels and that kind of stuff is a problem in this particular area.
Okay, so it's no assembly, no repair, no sort of servicing that would
No.
that would lead to special sort of disposals for.
Everything will maintain. Services in the back 5.5 acres in that building. That's where it all happens.
Oh, perfect. And I just wanted to make sure that this is customer service, showroom, retail, sort of.
This is totally
general
retail, first meeting kind of thing. Come in, pay your bill for service on a boat. Come in, pay your bill for a slip.
So it's the more person side of the business.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Before you leave, just Mr. Rinkunis did strike a memory. Do you know if there is a plan by Erstedt Biddle to put the snow someplace else?
Yes, I do. We just dealt with this We've dealt with this last week, as a matter of fact. We've never really used that area. And if anybody here can kind of look at the maps and the roadways and all this, we had a long discussion with our snow contractor. He wouldn't use that area as a rule, period, unless it was a haul and dump situation. Because there's all that curbing and all those roads, and you could never push snow from Petco all the way over to there. It just wouldn't work. So if that happened to the point where we couldn't maintain, we would pay to truck or to melt snow. It's just that simple.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, a motion to close the public hearing
I make a motion.
by
close
Ms.
the public
Peppin,
hearing.
second by Mr. Giuliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Vote is unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to the next application.
Touching.
Long time no see, Mr. Knight.
Touching. Holy Land.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, Ms. Pippin, Madam Secretary, members of the commission, and Mr. Hibansky.
Before you get started, I just want to read the property into the record. Mr. Giuliano, I think there.
Sure. 577 Hawley Lane, petition of Par 1 Development LLC seeking a change of zone from RS3 to a CF district.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you, Mr. Knott. You want to begin?
Yes. My name is Barry Knott. I am a lawyer with the firm of Knott, Dunn with offices at 1656 Main Street. I'm here this evening on behalf of Par 1 Development LLC of 225 Hawley Lane, Stratford. Jim Fitzpatrick over there in the brown sweater is the principal of that entity. This time I'd like to submit the certificates of mailing and make reference to a folder of exhibits to which I'll be making reference during the course of my presentation. The first 5 of which are photographs. Exhibit 1 is a photograph of the subject premises at 577 Hawley Lane. I'll call it the Sedlak House. It's a single-family house. You can see it behind those fir trees in photograph 1. This photograph was taken from the driveway to the Marriott Hotel, which is located directly across the street. Photograph 2 is another picture of the premises. You can see it on the left over there. It's a gray home. It's got a car parked in the backyard. And if you look to the right of Exhibit 2, you can see the medical building and the Big Y Shopping Center down to the right on Hawley Lane. Exhibit 3 is a photo of the medical building that I just made reference to in the entrance to the Big Y Shopping Center. I'm showing you this because I want to get you oriented exactly as to where this property is located. Exhibit 4 is another photo of the subject premises, this time looking towards Huntington Road. And Exhibit 5 is a photo from the entrance to the Hawley Glen condos, looking back down Hawley Lane towards Nichols Avenue. And you can see to the right, just before that car is coming up the street on the left, there's like a green sign. That's that 9-unit condominium project that's tucked back in there. Now, Exhibit 6 is an aerial photo, and I've outlined this property in red, and those numbers that you see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is way over to the right. It's in the dark lower left. Lower left. It's hard to see. But 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5 are the locations from which the photos, Exhibits 1 through 5, were taken from those locations on the aerial photograph. Exhibit 6 is a copy of our assessor's map of the whole area. And what I did is I highlighted Mrs. Sedlak's property, which is the subject of this application, in pink. And then I've pointed out the Big Y Shopping Center, the medical building that's located immediately next to our property. There's a little parcel owned by the state of Connecticut at the bend in the road. There used to be a house there, but the state took it when they straightened out the road. And now that state of Connecticut parcel is probably 10 or 15 feet below the grade of Hawley Lane, is essentially a wetland area. Then you got the 2 condo projects, the 9-unit and the 40-unit, as you go towards Huntington Road. Across the street, you got a medical building and the Marriott. Exhibit 8 is a survey of the property which is the subject of this application, 577 Hawley Lane. As I indicated, there's a single-family house currently on the site. The site consists of 139,390 square feet, 3.2 acres, on a long, narrow lot. If you look at the top part of Exhibit 8, you'll see that I have highlighted in pink the long, narrow lot, which is, in fact, this parcel. There's 224 feet of frontage on Hawley Lane. The lot extends back 1,168 feet on its southwesterly boundary, 1,350 feet on its northwesterly boundary, and the bottom of this exhibit is the front portion of this lot out by Hawley Lane, where the house currently sits. And you can see from this exhibit that I have outlined an area behind the existing house with a squiggly blue line. And that squiggly blue line is the wetlands delineation line. So everything to the right of that line, until you get way back underneath the high-tension wires that bisect this property, is wetlands. So the only development that's going to occur vis-a-vis my client's development of this property is in that area in the front, in front of the squiggly blue line. And if you look at Exhibit 9, this is in fact a site plan, a preliminary site plan. This is not before you tonight, but I didn't want to come in and ask for a zone change, but I'll give you an idea of what we're probably going to be doing here. This is a proposed restaurant on the front of the property, and this has got the same wetlands line. This particular building is 2,400 square feet. There's X number of parking spaces that comply with the zoning regulations. But this development is not necessarily going to be a restaurant. It may be a restaurant, but it's not necessarily going to be a restaurant. CF, which is the zone I'm asking for, is a limited business zone. And the reason it's limited business is because the permitted uses are extremely limited, and they all require special case approval by this commission. Exhibit 9, as I indicated, is a potential site plan. Section 7.5 of the zoning regulations set forth the permitted uses in the CF zone. They include professional and business offices, financial institutions, retail services, agencies or stores, nursing homes, and assisted living facilities, although the developable area of this site is not large enough to accommodate a nursing home or assisted living facility because of the wetlands. The Big Y Shopping Center and the medical building immediately to the southwest of this property are also Zone CF, so that your approval of our zone change request is consistent with adjacent properties and commercial development on Hawley Lane on both sides of the street. Because this property is adjacent to other substantially sized properties already zoned CF, approval of this application would not constitute illegal spot zoning. Now, the administrative comments are as follows. Police Department, Fire Department, Building Department, Engineering Department, and Public Works Department all had no comment. Maureen Whalen from the Health Department states, our records indicate this property is serviced by an on-site septic system and private well. The septic system and any other hollow structures must be pumped out and crushed on-site or removed from the property. The well must be properly abandoned and the required forms must be submitted. Obviously, Maureen's concerns will be addressed by us during the construction phase of this project. Tina Beto, the Conservation Administrator, says, if the zoning change is approved, the applicant will be required to submit a complete application to the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Commission for construction of the proposed building. The property in question is entirely within delineated wetlands and upland review area. My client is aware that a wetlands application is needed. It will be submitted at the same time the special case application is submitted as required by state law. Jay, your Planning and Zoning Administrator, opines that it should be noted that the subject property abuts a retail commercial CF district, which promotes professional and office and business offices and financial institutions. Any use permitted in the CF district is subject to approval of special case by the Zoning Commission. By considering approval of zone change for this location, I believe the Planning Commission and the Zoning Commission would not be contributing to spot zoning. Because the location of the property is located within 500 feet of another municipality, directly across the street from another municipality, the application for zone change was referred by Jay to the Connecticut Metropolitan Council on Governments for comments. In his response, Mr. Matt Fulda, Acting Director, said, upon our review, we have found that the proposed zone map change is not regionally significant. Now, approval of this application for a zone change to CF represents a logical extension of commercial development on Hawley Lane, with the exception of the property of Catherine Talone, who's the property immediately adjacent to us as you go towards Huntington Road, northeast of the subject property, and another parcel to the northeast located behind the state of Connecticut property. This is the last parcel available for commercial development on the Stratford side of Hawley Lane. As you go towards Huntington Road, you have the benefit of the two condominium projects acting as a buffer between the commercial development on the Nichols Avenue side of Hawley Lane and the residential development on the Huntington Road side of Hawley Lane. Approval of this zone change request is the logical next step to concluding the commercial development of Hawley Lane. I would ask for your favorable consideration.
Good. All right. Ready for questions?
Yes.
Mr. Fuller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Attorney Knott. So just for clarification purposes, we're just looking at a zones change action taken tonight.
That's right.
Or whenever the commission opts to make a ruling on that.
Right.
So this is not a site plan. The site plan you propose is just a conceptual idea of what could go there under a CF sort of designation.
I never like to present to you a zone change application in a void. In other words, I like to tell you.
And I concur, and I appreciate that.
I like to tell you what we have in mind. Although you're
at least
right.
to give us, if not the exacts, at least the ballpark idea of conceptually, at least, what is the intended land use should such a policy get approved. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate the demarcation of the wetlands line, and that's really what I really want to focus on right now. And this is something I imagine we would stipulate more in a site plan review as opposed to a zone change review, because I'm very concerned about protecting those wetlands. It's a very unique ecosystem up in that part of town. So I imagine because you really have to look at the site plan in order to get into the nitty-gritty details of wetland protection. So I imagine once you get to the site plan preparation, you would have to go to inland and wetlands.
Yes. No, before we go to site plan with special
Yeah.
case, before.
Wetlands would go
We
first.
have to go to wetlands, either simultaneously or before. We can't go to the zoning commission for special case approval before we go get wetlands.
Oh, absolutely. So, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that wetlands, and this looks like the textbook sort of designation that would trigger a wetlands and inland and wetlands commission review. My other question, do you know what even though it's Trumbull, do you know what that zoning is on the other side? Is it like a comparable zone in the Trumbull book?
Well, I mean, you can see what's over there.
Yeah.
You got a hotel, you got a couple of shopping centers, you got a McDonald's.
But would it be sort of, because you do have to see how it, even though it might be a different municipality, you have to see how things work in harmony together. And a proposed restaurant or other proposed CF use could be in harmony with that. You do have a restaurant at the hotel. You do have the Happy Harvest or Asian Bistro at the Big Y. So is this consistent more with what the Big Y sort of use is right now in terms of land use, sort of?
Well, both the Big Y, the medical building, the two medical buildings next to the Big Y, and this site would all be zone CF.
Okay,
Stratford
so
has
you're
got.
extending the CF zone.
Yeah, exactly. Stratford's got two commercial zones, CA and CF. CA are all those zones where you can just go in and take out a building permit. You don't need any special case approval, no zoning approval needed unless it's a big project. They're permitted as of right. CF is a more restricted commercial zone. That's what I'm proposing here, that any use on this property has to come to you for special case approval. So you get to analyze, criticize, and whatever else, the site plan, modify. So as far as the property across the street, Dave, I think the CF zone in Stratford is a more restrictive commercial zone than what they have across the street.
The Trumbull equivalent across the street.
Yeah, because they slapped a lot of stuff in there that.
And then my final question is, have you had any conversations with Mr. Talone or
Yes.
any representative?
They're here tonight. You're going to be hearing from them.
Oh, excellent. That's pretty much my questions. I was the Talones wanted to speak at public comment or don't know.
Ms. Peppin?
That was my question, too. That's the only house, yours is the only house on that side.
That's
Is
right.
that
The other two parcels
It's
don't
just-
have houses.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Giuliano?
Yeah, I'm going to just, Madam Chair, oh, wait, I want to listen to the comments from the audience on this
Okay.
and everything, because
Okay.
it's a touchy situation. I'd
Okay,
like
Mr.
to-
Paul?
Yeah, it looks like I'm interested in seeing what Catherine Talone has to say, but I wanted to also say from a vision of what's been taking place in this area, it's coming together basically, and all along, you know, we've had this residential area and we've had this CF area, and they're coming together, and now we're down to one more lot that's looking to go CF. And I would just say that we're going to have to be charged with looking at the highest and best use of this property. But more importantly, I want to hear from the Talone family.
Okay.
Thank you.
I had one question.
Yeah.
The Planning Commission made some recommendations. You've gotten a copy of it that they forwarded to us. Their recommendations were the protection of the wetland should receive serious consideration. This was dated January 18th.
Right.
Strike a memory. The traffic patterns of the Big Y north of the Big Y should be considered when determining the future development of the site. And third, the tree line buffer should be maximized and preserved between any future development and wetlands on that site. I want to make sure that you reviewed those considerations and they are acceptable to you.
Yes, I have reviewed them. My client has reviewed them, and they will all be addressed within the context of the wetlands application and the special case application. As far as the removal of trees on this site, this is a 3.2 acre site. 3 acres of it is going to remain exactly as it is right now because it's all wetlands.
No, I understand. I think we were referring specifically the very frontage, as you saw in your picture. You had the ash trees is what they're
Yeah.
called. They were very pretty. they were looking, and I agreed to preserve them as much as possible, at least the ones that are healthy.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay? Okay, at this point, I'd like to welcome the public to come forward if they're in favor of this application. Anybody in favor who would like to speak? Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Catherine Talone. My sister and I, Cindy Malte, we own that property. We inherited it from our parents who bought it in 1950.
Wow.
So they've had that property for a long time. My aunt, Elizabeth Fuchs, owned the parcel next to it. And the town of Stratford did purchase their property, so I believe there's still property in the back. And then our parcel that abuts the Sedlacks. So we're in favor of it because we would be the only parcel left that's not commercial. And with the Marriott and Big Y and all the area is
Commercial.
changed.
It's unrecognizable when we were kids. I don't even recognize where my aunt's house was because it was level with the road.
Yeah, it's a lot of
And
changes.
it's a lot of changes, and my mom held on to this property forever, and it changed, and now we've inherited it, and if by going commercial will be of benefit to my sister and I for all the taxes my mom paid on this parcel of land, that she kept waiting that something maybe good would come of it. And I hope something good does come of it, but by going commercial, I think that would be the best thing to do at this point because it's all commercialized. Everything going down that road. I mean, I remember that part where the Marriott is and the Big Y, that was a dirt road. And it was so dense with woods, you could not see the Merritt Parkway. I never knew as a child that that was the Merritt Parkway, mere how many feet from Holly Lane? But you can see it clear now because it's been cleared out so much. So we're in favor if it will be of benefit to us, and because I can't see it remaining residential, you can't build a house there. I'm hoping maybe something could go with Mr. Fitzpatrick or something. It could be included, like, I don't know, but we're not against it.
Okay.
We would like to see something good come of it.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak in favor? Is there anybody who would like to speak now in opposition, opposing it? Anybody who would like to speak against the application? No? Okay. Yes, come forward. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Paul Zebo. My family and I live at 260 Andrew Street off of Nichols Avenue. I would like the commission to strongly reject the 577 Harley Lane petition of Power One Development LLC that is seeking a zone change from RS3 to a CF district. I would appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Is there any particular reason you like to reject the application?
For what else has been done on Harley Lane by the nearby shopping center and the owners of it.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak in opposition? Is there anybody who wants to just make a statement at all? Okay, seeing that there's no more comment. Any more questions from the commissioners? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second by Mr. Fuller. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Motion is unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, we have one last application to hear tonight. Thank you.
Madam Chair, you want me?
Please.
Yes, agenda item number 7, which is petition number 7, 2725 Main Street, which I believe is Town Hall. Petition of Empire Telecom USA seeking a special case approval to add new telecom equipment in an LB district.
Thank you very much. Your name, please?
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Zoning Commission. My name is Lucia Chiocchio. I'm with Cuddy and Fader, and we represent AT&T, and we're here tonight, obviously, on their application. Would you like a business card for my?
Yes, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
I wouldn't know.
That would
Or we
help.
can just pass it.
Yeah, we just looked at each other trying to figure out how to spell that.
It's not an easy one. It's not a common one.
Thank you.
So as mentioned, we're right here at Town Hall. AT&T's facility, its current facility, consists of 6 panel antennas. They're installed within what we call concealment boxes. So if you looked at the cupola, I don't think you'll even see it on that picture, but if you look at some of the photos we provided in the application, if you look on the cupola, there's like a railing, the top railing. And there are some boxes with a little bit of like an ornament on top of it.